Welcome back to the fourth part of the For Real Movie Club here in August as we go through a grab bag full of staff picks when it comes to our films this month. The next film on our plate is Office Space, which is a 1999 American comedy film written and directed by Mike Judge. The film satires the everyday work life of a typical mid to late 1990s software company, focused on a handful of individuals that are fed up with their jobs. We'll start with you, Sam, on this one. What were your initial thoughts on the movie Office Space?
Oh my, I love Office Space. This is just a fucking classic of a movie. And I mean, Mike Judge, like, in the 90s was amazing when it came to, like, comedy and stuff. I mean, I love, King of the Hill, Beavis and Butthead. Like, he was on a high point. And this movie it didn't hit records, I don't believe. I don't think it was, like, box office financially a hit. But just, it's become, like, a cult classic film.
Chris, what were your first thoughts on Office Space?
I didn't appreciate the humor until I grew up when I first watched it. Like, until I actually knew, like, the mundane routines and how insane people can get, like, by just going to work in an office all the time. So, like, I don't know, I feel like Mike Judge movies are like that with me, where every time I don't get them initially the first time, but then the second time I watch it, like, a few years later, like, it clicks with me better. Again, like, now I get it. Now it's like classic staple. Like, I remember, like, seeing the trailer and everything when I was a kid going, like, I don't want to watch this. But then, you know, it being on TV or people recommending it, it just grows like a culture with it.
Caroline,
so, like,
what were sorry.
That's right. I like it now. Like, it's a good comedy.
Caroline, what were your initial thoughts on Office Space?
Well, I'm not a big comedy person, but I do like this movie. Just like Chris just said, I mean, you don't really get it if you're young and you watch it, but as you grow older, like little things, like even in the beginning of the movie, like the traffic jam, like he switched lanes thinking that, oh, this lane's going fast, and it stops. And then it's little things like that. It's just so dead on. It's like something that everybody could just see themselves in it. And I mean, that movie when I watch it, I just want to get a red stapler. So I appreciate that movie.
So some of the casting leads to Ron Livingston as Peter Gibbons, the main character, Jennifer Aniston as Joanna, Stephen Root as the iconic Milton Wadhams, Gary Cole as Bill Lumberg, David Herman as Michael Bolton, Ajay Naidu as Samir Nahinajad. Yeah, I said it. John C. McGinley as Bob Slidell, who's my hero for other reasons. And just a list of other, like, in-between characters as well. Sam, we'll start with you. What were your thoughts on the casting for Office Space?
I mean, none of them, like, with the exception of, Peter, like, I can't think of them in too many other movies. Like, it's not that they didn't have careers after this. It's just, I can't, like, think of, like, oh yeah, like, that's the dude who played Lawrence.
Yeah,
but,
nobody
like,
knows that Jennifer Aniston woman.
Or Dr.
Well, besides that. But, like, but, like, now, like, when I saw The Conjuring, I'm like, dude, that's the guy from Office Space. Like, it's just, like, this movie, like, is now how I think of some of these people. As far as the casting goes, like, my favorite character in this whole thing has gotta be Lawrence. Whenever he's on screen, I just fucking love it. And, like, I still will, like, if I can find a way to squeeze it into a conversation, I'll still go, like, no. No, man. No, shit, man. You get your ass beat for saying something like that.
Chris, what were your first thoughts, or what were your thoughts on the casting for Office Space?
I like that this movie doesn't feel like a Jennifer Aniston vehicle, even though, like, some people remember it just for Jennifer Aniston. Again, the character that Gary Cole plays is, like, now, like, a universally, like, funny character. Like, he just, like, you could see, like, people in fandom, like, talk about him, like, mimic his tone, his voice. Like, that one character was pretty awesome. And it's supposed to, like, he's supposed to be the main antagonist, but it's just funny how, like, the popularity of him has taken off. This movie did help a lot of their careers, though. Though not everyone walked away like famous for it. You know, like it took a while. Like now, you can see their career like steadily. Like you could, like Sam said, you recognize them from that. But when that movie came out, the first 2 years, like I don't think you saw many people like in other movies after that.
Yeah, well, I mean, like Jennifer Aniston was already known at this point for Friends, but like not too many others.
Right.
Gary Cole was, but
Caroline, what were your thoughts on the casting?
I mean, I love, my favorite thing about casting is the guy that plays Milton. Sorry, I'm blinking on everybody's names. I suck at remembering names. Unless if you're a dog. It was good. I mean, I would say the only one that I could just like do without or have somebody else play, it was like Jennifer Aniston. Like, I mean, yeah, she's cute, but I feel like she was just there for like to be cute. But yeah, everybody else is nice. Like, I like that they picked a guy to play Peter that is not... I mean, he's charming, but he's not gorgeous. You can still, like, kind of see, oh, that's, like, the guy that works, like, on the next cubicle.
He's average. He's a perfect, like, average dude.
Exactly. And I think that's really great. Like, I wonder... I mean, I guess today there's a lot of comedians that could, you know, still do that and be okay, but...
I feel like the dude from Hangover, if they remade this movie, would probably end up playing him.
I think Louis C.K. would be phenomenal in that role.
You have to have somebody that just looks like a oh God. Like, sorry, like crazy things happening on my street.
Was that Basketball Jones?
Maybe.
Do you live on NASCAR?
I actually do. It's like one side is NASCAR, the other side's Sidebar, and the other side's like a crackhead place. Yeah. What was I saying?
Yeah,
so yes,
totally have a crush on Jennifer Aniston.
Oh yeah, I love her too. Yeah, so I appreciate that. You know, I don't think it would be as effective, even if he was still really funny, if he was like a really good-looking guy. So I feel like casting did a good job on that movie.
Some facts about the movie: the music was done by John Frizzle, cinematography by Tim Sturz, edited by Dave Rennie, and distributed by 20th Century Fox. The release date for the film was February 19th, 1999, so it was a great Valentine's Day movie if you wanted to go check it out. With a runtime of 89 minutes, a budget of $10 million, and a box office of 12.8, so not really a great box office success like it was mentioned earlier. However, it has received a cult status, selling very well on home video and DVD. As of 2003, it had sold 2.6 million copies on VHS. For those of you that are young, that's what we had before DVDs, which is before Blu-ray. In the same year, it was the top 20 best-selling Fox DVDs, along with There's Something About Mary.
Wow.
So I'm going to ask you guys, the panel, Chris, what do you think it takes to become a cult classic? Like, why did this not do well at the movie theaters, but it bit well when it got to sales for DVDs and videos?
I'm going to say, like, a lot of people who actually work in offices didn't want to see a comedy that takes place in an office yet. Like, that market wasn't ready. Because I know, like, the Office TV show, not relatable to this, I know, like, works now. But back then in 93? No, what was it? 99? Like, I guess some people just weren't, like, ready to face the funny realities of the routines of, like, the mundane routines in an office. So I'm going to say, like, it grew better in box office because someone saw it and recommended it, how funny it was, and all these, like, little tidbits about everyday life in an office is, like, actually, like, crazy.
Sam?
I agree. Yeah.
Well, Caroline, we'll start with you. Screw Sam. Why do you think it became it became a cult classic and did better on sales for DVDs and VHS than it did the box office?
So I'm gonna go now. And
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, you guys. I didn't want to interrupt Sam. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You didn't interrupt, so you were silent when it was time for you to talk.
Because I said I agree with Chris, and it was your turn to speak, so I shut up.
Caroline, you can go.
I was talking to Tony.
Well, you know, Frank says.
No, I just agree with Chris. I feel like maybe in the 90s there was still this idea that people just wanted to go to the movies and kind of forget about mundane life. And a movie entitled Office Space maybe didn't really appeal to people. But then once people got more familiar with what the movie was about, they were able to connect in a way. And I feel like with all cult movies, there is something about you being able to connect to it in ways like you see yourself in those situations. And those situations, they don't have like an expiration date on them. They're always going to be, part of people's lives. So yes, I agree with Chris. Now go ahead, Sam. Sorry I exist.
I accept your apology for that.
For existing? Damn, you're harsh.
I think the reason why this movie did better later on was, like they said, like these are themes that are maybe not completely timeless, but they're like we can still relate to them today. But I think why it maybe wasn't a success back then is when I first watched it, I understood that this was the kind of movie that maybe you can't really appreciate when you first watch it. You maybe have to watch it again and again, and then you start to like, you love it for what it is rather than like just a film, if you know what I mean. So like watching it like 5 years later, you're like, you know what, that was actually really funny. Like maybe I didn't like it when I saw it in theaters. And then like 10 years later, you're like, damn, I remember that movie. I want to go watch that again. And then just down the line, it becomes like something that everybody loves. Word of mouth, it carries legs. The DVD sales increase.
I have the answer for this.
Go ahead.
Quotes. There's one thing about
that's true.
cult movies that is standard, and it's that they are quotable. And it doesn't matter if it's a good movie or it's a bad movie. There's things that are going to be quoted from it. You take a movie like The Departed, wins Best Picture, like all this other kind of stuff like that. I think it won Best Picture that year. Can anybody really name any quotes from it? But at the same time, you take a movie like this, and people are going to go, PC low letter, what the fuck does that mean? Or it's a jump to conclusions, Matt, or not going to work here anymore. Like, there's so many different things that are quotable about this, and I think this is one of those things where people, you watch it, you find the quotes funny, you tell a friend, like, that joke was about, this thing from Office Space, and then it's like, well, what's Office Space? Oh, shit, it's this really fucking fun movie, and etc.
Well, there you have it. End of the debate.
So yeah, Dace. If you could move on to the next topic, that'd be great.
Well, we can all edit that part out in post, so it's all good. High point, low point, ranking 1 to 10. Caroline, we'll start with you on the movie Office Space.
I'll give it a 7, which I feel like it's the highest I can give to a comedy because it's just not my thing. Highest point, Milton, the tape player. I love that guy. Like, I would marry him. He's so adorable with a little, he's so cute. Low point, Jennifer Aniston. Sorry, girl.
Chris, what was your high point, low point, and ranking 1 to 10 on the movie Office Space?
My high point, I think, is when they go to lunch and they're talking about the flare at the TGIF. And, like, that's pretty funny because that's, like, for me, like, most awkward is, like, going to restaurants more than dealing with offices. Like, just dealing with, like, the host or, like, the waiter that's, like, way too into his job. The low point for me is I guess, like, kind of the end where they don't get their, like, money. I don't know, I feel bad. Like, it's funny that way, right? It's more tragically funny. But honestly, like, like, I didn't mind them, like, if they actually got something that wasn't, like, Pete's working, he went from a computer job to just, like, construction. That's kind of like, holy shit, the market shift was so violent there that he, like, lost a career job to do, like, going outside and picking up roadkill and things like that. Which I guess he was happy for, which was, like, the better message, but I felt like that was, like, ooh, that's too deep for me. Where it's just like, oh yeah, that's like a career shift where it's like, oh, no office skills. Go outside, pick up a shovel.
Yeah, I can see that.
And was your ranking 1 to 10?
Oh, like a 7. And it's not the best comedy of all time, but it's great for, like, this generation. Like, I guess, it's still, like, a great movie to throw on and, like, what Tony said, to quote and just, like, or relive some scenes, but it's definitely not like a must see for everyone.
Sam, what was your high point, low point in ranking 1 to 10 on the movie Office Space?
I'm kind of with Carolyn. I wasn't a big fan of Jennifer Aniston, the whole love story angle of it. I was just more interested in just like watching this guy interact with his friends and like bitching about his job. The high point is the fucking when they all get together. I can never remember if it's like a fax machine, if it's a printer scanner, like just whatever. Like they're always breaking down, and they like get it, and they start playing that rap song, and they just bust the shit out of it. That to me is that is gold for me in this movie. And out of 10, I give Space Jam an 8.5. I'm gonna give this movie an 8.
I'm very disappointed nobody said that their high point was the best line in the movie, which is, "Hi, Bob. Bob? I love that part. That's so fucking great." You're all terrible people for not loving that as much.
Well, there you have it, folks. Office Space in the books, and we're going to move on to a bonus part. Yeah, you heard it, folks. We're doing a 5th part on a 4 Reel Movie Club. Yeah, it doesn't make sense, but who the fuck cares? Moving on to the 5th film here on the 4 Reel Movie Club, Dark Skies. Click the link below. Bam.